went to the woods because I wished to live deliberately, to front only the essential facts of life, and not, when I came to die, discover that I had not lived. I wanted to live deep and suck out all the marrow of life, to live so sturdily and Spartan-like as to reduce it to its lowest terms, and, if it proved to be mean, to get the whole and genuine meanness of it, or if it were sublime, to know it by experience, and to give a true account of it. When I wrote the following pages, or rather the bulk of them, I lived alone in the woods, a mile from any neighbor, in a house which I had built myself, on the shore of Walden Pond, in Concord, Massachusetts, and earned my living by the labor of my hands. When I first took up my abode in the woods, my house was not finished. It was a pleasant hillside where I worked, covered with pine woods, through which I looked out on the pond, and a small open field in the woods where pines and hickories were springing up. Interesting.
Henry! Henry, are you all right? Henry! July 1845. My dear Henry, Mr. Emerson has assisted my family in acquiring a house near Concord, and there we are now, writing and living like philosophers, which is to say, with little but happily. I will visit you soon and bring Mr. Garrison of the Liberator. We have all been so inspired by his earnest and unequivocal writings regarding the moral stain of slavery on our nation. Perhaps he will speak at our Lyceum on the topic. Yours truly, A. Bronson Alcott.
Interesting. There is some of the same fitness in a man's building his own house that there is in a bird's building its own nest. Who knows but if men constructed their dwellings with their own hands and provided food for themselves and families simply and honestly enough, the poetic faculty would be universally developed, as birds universally sing when they are so engaged. Ah! Interesting. Interesting. I am no more lonely than the loon in the pond that laughs so loud, or than Walden Pond itself. I am no more lonely than a single mullein or dandelion in a pasture, or a bean leaf, or a sorrel, or a horsefly, or a bumblebee. I am no more lonely than the millbrook, or a weathercock, or the North Star, or the south wind, or an April shower, or a January thaw, or the first spider in a new house. My residence was more favorable not only to thought, but to serious reading than a university. And though I was beyond the range of the ordinary circulating library, I had more than ever come within the influence of those books which circulate round the world.
July 4th, 1845. Dearest Henry, congratulations on the start of your experiment. I hope that the work goes well and the ideas are fruitful. Mr. Emerson says you are intent to devour yourself in our woods, but I hope that you will remember to take good care and keep yourself well. Mother worries, as do I. Your loving sister, Sophia.
"What are you doing now?" Emerson asked. "Do you keep a journal?" "So I make my first entry today."
July 1845. Dear Henry, you've told me yourself that it is difficult to begin anything without borrowing, and I know that you can use an axe, so I've left one for you in my front yard by the chopping stump. Do come by any time to fetch it. Perhaps we can discuss the new lecture I am working on while you are here. Your friend, Ralph Waldo Emerson. It's very good to make your acquaintance, Mr. Thoreau. Your sister seems to believe our thoughts and philosophies are very much aligned. It is good to find a youth so interested in the finer fruits of thought. Ah, hello.
Hello.
Dear Miss Fuller, it was a pleasure to meet you, and thank you for the introductions to such brilliant new company. I am sure that writers such as these will fill our new journal with rays of golden talent. I have another name to add to the roster of our dial, Mr. Henry David Thoreau, a fine, brave youth of this town from whom I expect great things. I will send you some of his work soon. My son, young Waldo, is very well, and wife Lydian sends her love. R.W. Emerson. Recommendation for Henry David Thoreau. I cordially recommend Mr. Henry D. Thoreau, a graduate of Harvard University in August 1837, to the confidence of such parents or guardians as may propose to employ him as an instructor. I have the highest confidence in Mr. Thoreau's moral character and in his intellectual ability. He is an excellent scholar, a man of energy and kindness, and I shall esteem the town fortunate that secures his services. R. Waldo Emerson. Oh, Henry, how goes your new experiment?
Yes, in fact, the experiment is going quite well.
Excellent to hear. I do look forward to reading your new work. I hope you are keeping a good journal, full of your insights about life in the woods. Since you're here, I could use your assistance with some research I'm doing for a new lecture. Could you spare the time to help me?
Certainly.
Well, thank you. I know you're quite busy with your own work, but I need help finding my copy of Homer's Iliad. I saw that you were reading it down by your new cabin. Do you still have it there?
Yes, I have seen it and can get it for you.
Oh, that's wonderful. When you come back, we can discuss the passage I'm looking for. In the meanwhile, I found some books on bean planting and local wildlife you might find useful. I put them on the table in my library for you.
I look forward to it. Goodbye for now. All sound heard at the greatest possible distance produces one and the same effect, the vibration of the universal lyre, just as the intervening atmosphere makes a distant ridge of the earth interesting to our eyes by the azure tint it imparts to it. Wishing to earn $10 or $12 by some honest and agreeable method, in order to meet my unusual expenses, I planted about 2 acres and a half of light and sandy soil, chiefly with beans. As I sit at my window this summer afternoon, hawks are circling about my clearing, the tantivy of wild pigeons, flying by 2 and 3s athwart my view, or perching restless on the white pine boughs behind my house, give a voice to the air. A fish hawk dimples the glassy surface of the pond and brings up a fish. A mink steals out of the marsh before my door and seizes a frog by the shore. The sedge is bending under the weight of the reed birds flitting hither and thither, and for the last half hour I have heard the rattle of railroad cars, now dying away. I learned that it would cost incredibly little trouble to obtain one's necessary food, even in this latitude, that a man may use as simple a diet as the animals, and yet retain health and strength.
July, 1845. Dear Mr. Thoreau, my employer, Dr. Agassiz, was happy to meet you last month with Mr. Emerson, and was quite impressed with your knowledge of local biology. He wonders if you might be able to provide some specimens for him to use in his work. Dr. Agassiz would gladly come to Concord to collect such specimens himself, but is drawn away by numerous and pressing engagements. If you are amenable to this idea, we will soon send you requests for these items and are happy to pay you for your trouble. Sincerely, James Elliott Cabot, Assistant to Dr. Agassiz, Harvard University.